and take our bones.
Hey there cats, good time of the day to you and thank you for tuning into my channel. You're watching the tutorial that will show you how to do your own texture swaps in Motorstorm Pacific Rift. This tutorial has been recorded with the original PlayStation 3 in mind, however it is basically the same thing on RPCS3 emulator, and you even will be able to cut down on several unnecessary steps if you are using the emulator, because RPCS3, as usual for emulators, is much less demanding than the original console. I will try my best to know the things that are possible to avoid doing if you are using RPCS3, however, I'm not sure if I'll know them all, because I actually prefer to stick to PlayStation 3 so far. I mean, as much as I love emulators, RPCS3 in my opinion is way too young to be used so far, and besides, I always intend my tutorials to be compatible with original hardware, even if I use emulators myself. Must be noted though that you are most likely have to own a jailbroken PS3 in order for the texture swap to work, because I haven't tried it myself, but I'm pretty sure that official firmware doesn't let you launch games with any modified files. If there's even a way to try and launch such a game on the official firmware. So anyway, let's get started. Alright, so first things first, we have to get the files which contain the textures from the Pacific Rift folder and unpack them. I have Pacific Rift installed on my PlayStation 3 and I've already connected to it via FTP. So the files we need are named game folder, PS3 game, user dir, MS2 PSArc, this is the original file, which contains pretty much the whole Motorstorm in itself, and the patched file, which is there if you have upgraded your game to 1.03 or pretty much any other version, lies in game, BCES or BCES if you have a European PAL version of the Motorstorm, user dir, and ms2 patch PSArc once again. So you copy these two files wherever you want to use them, wherever you are comfortable. I have copied them here and you have to unpack them. I will demonstrate how to do it with a smaller file named ms2 patch PSArc. In order to unpack them I use PS3 tools, which has this tool which is named PS3 PSArc GUI. So we choose our PSArc and now we simply press extract all. We choose the folder that we have created and we click OK, and there it goes, extracting our PSArc. It should be noted that after this tutorial was recorded, another tool has been located which is supposedly a bit better than the tool I use in the video, because it should generate automatically an XML file which will be useful when it comes to repacking the PSArc archive. However, if you do not plan to do any other operations with PSArc, you are completely good to use the tools I use. I have all the XMLs already prepared for the tools I use in the video, and those will be attached in the description. However, if you want to try this alternative program, or if you want to unpack and repack more PSArcs, then perhaps it would be more comfortable to try and use that other tool. I haven't tested it yet, but I suppose it works as intended, and that tool is named PS3 Game Extractor. It will be attached in the description as well for the completeness of this tutorial. Alright now, so now the textures itself are contained in original ms2 PSArc. They're contained twice. They're contained in split vehicles RPKs, and they're contained in packed vehicle RPKs. Now, I recommend to modify both these files, because on PlayStation 3 me and my patron Regal, who did a lot of job upon this texture swapping method and who did a lot of job upon Motorstorm itself in general. Really, he's a monster. I should probably donate him at this point. Either way, so we are not sure how it works, but I've had an instance on my PlayStation 3 where I've modified only packed vehicles, I believe, and as a result, at some point, the texture swapped back to its original one. I'm not sure why, but PlayStation 3 seemed to alternate between split vehicles version of files and packed vehicles version of files, so you need to modify both RPKs in order for this to work correctly. Well, at least this way it is guaranteed to work correctly. And in MS2 patch, which is already unpacked at this point, there are no split vehicles, there are only packed vehicles, and here are the patched liveries that have been changed via update or added via update for whatever reason. So if you want to change the livery, first thing first, you have to check the MS2 patch, and if you do not find an MS2 patch, a needed file in MS2 patch, then you go back to the original MS2 and your file should be somewhere around this place. The other thing I should to note, it is also, as we found out, actually written in the save game which version of the livery patched or the original one the game will load. So if you did everything correct with, say, Big Rig 26 RPK, yet the livery just doesn't load for some reason, you should check if there's a Big Rig 26 RPK in original MS2 folder, because it is here as you can see, and you probably have to modify it as well, because most likely it is written into the save game that the game should pick up the original livery. Now, sometimes it is actually can be fixed via the save game itself with just a little bit of Hex-Editing, however, it is not the point of this tutorial, so we will probably do it some other time, or maybe not. Either way, for the purposes of this tutorial, I'll just say that you have to modify the file in the MS2. So modify all the files. That's in short what you have to do. Alright now. Alright, so now that we've located our files, we have to unpack them. Let's start with packed vehicles, for example. We grab the Big Rig 01 RPK, which is a Castro Varadero. We create a folder for it, and we have a script for quick BMS, which is actually intended for Drive Club, but it unpacks the Motorstorm RPKs just as fine. So quick BMS .exe, Motorstorm.bms, BMS, Big Rig 01.rpk. And there it goes. Here's our RPK unpacked. So now in order to get the texture itself, we have to use a program named RawTex. I use it in conjunction with text converter because I have a little bit an older version of RawTex, but the newer one never quite worked fine for me. So now. Textures are usually quite big, so we need to sort these files by size. This will let us figure out which file is a texture much more conveniently. I am pretty sure that these files are textures, so we launch RawTex and we drag and drop this file here. Alright, now we need to start with offset 8.0. No, I don't remember. I have to watch to take a look into the Regal's notes. Regal's notes are somewhere around this place. 1B. Oh yeah, not 80 is for DDS. 1B. So now where we start with offset 1B. Yeah, here's the texture. One of them. Let's find other one. Placeholder texture. American Dream. Now this is the texture I will actually use, and the texture which I will actually replace. So now we press try and convert, and it gets us a DDS file. Actually my raw text converts automatically. It gets us a DDS file which weighs 1025 kilobytes. It is a bit incorrect weight because this DDS file doesn't have MIP maps. It doesn't matter though, we can generate it for the new texture when we will edit it. And for this file we do not need MIP maps, it will work just fine. However, you gotta keep in mind that it has a bit incorrect size if you are going to do a manual swap. Now we also should locate an alpha channel. Alpha channel is the thing that determines reflection in Motorstorm Pacific Rift, and it is saved separately. So we have 7 textures, so we should have 7 alpha channels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I believe it's not 8, but let's try it. Alpha channels are much lower. This is probably light textures, a bit you know, a bit of low-res textures. I believe they are used by AI opponents. You can swap them as well if you want to. In fact, I usually swap them, and I will do so, but this is not the alpha I'm looking for. This is something entirely different, something that we do not need either. That's basically how you do it when you are not sure which file you need. You just open them one by one. Alpha should weigh 86 kilobytes actually. This is... oh yeah, this looks like the alpha for one of the liveries, so mine should be somewhere here. This is Collier's livery. This is yes, this is alpha. This is definitely alpha. Rockets Girl. Oh, here it is. The alpha I need. So, how the alpha works is quite easy. It is a texture in black and white, and black areas are reflectable, white areas are non-reflectable. So extract alpha as well, and these are our textures extracted. 0010 DDS and 0011 DDS. Oh, they're going one after another. Quite convenient. I shall also note that although it is quite a rare occasion, some liveries do not have an alpha channel assigned to them, do not have a reflection map assigned to them. So if you cannot find a reflection map which corresponds to the livery you want to modify, it is quite possible that this livery doesn't have one. A good example would be a livery BigRig01 LV04, which is a placeholder livery. And that livery, for example, simply doesn't have a specular map attached to it. There is also another method of extracting liveries which I have to show you because it works for every game that works for RPCS3. And this means we can actually rip textures from, say, Motorstorm Monument Valley and add them into Motorstorm Pacific Rift. So this method requires way more space on your HDD, but as long as space is not your problem, it's gonna work. So, first things first, you have to enable debug option on your RPCS3. It's in the RPCS3 folder, GUI configs, current settings, now Ctrl F, debug, show debug tab. By the default it is false, I've set it to true. So now you have debug tab in your RPCS3 options enabled, and you can open it and click RenderDoc compatibility mode. Now Regal actually told me some time ago that enabling this caused his Motorstorm Monument wallet to freeze. It is not crucial, so you can disable it, but I prefer to be it enabled. And it never caused a freeze for me, so I recommend you to enable it first and see if it works. I also have to note, while we are here, that Motorstorm Monument Valley in particular didn't work for me with standard options, so I had to set these two options to interpreter static in order for the Motorstorm to work. Now, you need a program named RenderDoc, and I already have it installed. RenderDoc. We launch it, and we launch our RPCS3 with it. We choose our RPCS3.exe and we click launch. Now our RenderDoc is connected to RPCS3 and we can boot our Motorstorm. I should note though that I've never actually tried to extract a texture from Pacific Rift with RenderDoc, therefore I'm not sure if it will be extracted correctly, and if it will be extracted incorrectly, it will be hard to locate and replace it in the original RPK file. However, it worked perfectly for Regal, and you can always try it, and if it won't work, refer to the previous method and extract the texture with quick BMS and raw text for guaranteed correct results. But overall, RenderDoc is pretty much your way to go for any game, as long as it can be launched with RPCS3. I know for a fact though that even if you'll just open and save the original texture with Adobe Photoshop, well, in my case with my NVIDIA DES plugins, it will change several bytes which will make the texture incompatible with my program, and therefore it will be impossible to swap the texture automatically, and as I've said, it will be quite hard to locate it inside an RPK file. And well, once again, I'm not sure if this will be the issue with RenderDoc, so perhaps give it a try, it is not that hard, and leave a commentary if it works or not. But either way, it is perfect for extracting textures, it would have been a shame not to showcase it, and it is the only way to go for Motorstorm Monument Valley, because we still cannot properly unpack its archives. So yeah, let's extract a texture which we do not have in Motorstorm Pacific Rift. I will do it really quickly since I have found all codes in RPCS3. They're pretty much the same, and we have to do some magic really quick. So we press pause, we find where's our memory view. Yeah, here it is. So we now use the code for car classes. We go to address for one blah blah blah. Where's our big rigs? Big rig should be 01 lower hash, then 00. This is actually, I am also right now showcasing how to use my methods of swapping liveries in Motorstorm Monument Valley on RPCS3. So if you need this, just look at it and remember it, because here it is. Here it is right now, this address replace L. Otherwise, watch my more detailed tutorial, which actually explains what's what here. Or just follow these small steps in order to get yourself a death cap or a Darrow. Alright, so now we have to press capture, which is F12, or print screen, and just a little bit more. It takes some time, obviously. Capture saved. Here's our capture. We double click it in order to open it in RenderDoc. Once again, it takes some time. Then we go into texture viewer. And I prefer to start from the bottom our textures, the textures we need, are in raw texture. Once again, we need to find an alpha, and here is actually our texture for the desk cap. Pretty much done. The textures are identical between Motorstorm. The texture formats are pretty much identical between Motorstorm Pacific Rift and Monument Valley. So far, let's save these textures. Let's call it into our folder. Let's call it desk cap. Save it, DDS, export all map maps, and press save. Now we need, oops, oh yeah, now we need to find an alpha. I mean, this can't be an alpha, can it? It actually looks like an alpha because the widths and height are correct ones, but let's just click around a bit more. It's kind of weird alpha if it is an alpha, after all. You can see a lot of textures here in raw text. A lot of stuff which is on the background. This is definitely this kind of some kind of normals. 256, 256, it should be 512 to 256. Alphas are usually, yeah, it looks like Death Cap uses that weird texture as an alpha. So it's all white aside from several spaces. Is it really has that weird reflection? I'd rather make my own alpha perhaps. But alright, let's export it. Let's export it as well, just to be complete. Desk cap alpha. Export all map maps. And that's how you do it. That's how you rip textures with RPCS3 and RenderDoc combined. As I press stop, you should go and draw yourself a new texture instead of the one we have extracted. So, let's assume you've done your texture and all you have to do is to save it. You should save it in DDS DXT1 without alpha, because as you have seen, alpha is a separate file which should be saved in the same format, DXT1, no alpha. So pretty much all the card textures go with DXT1 and no alpha. Generate map maps, do not forget to press it. As I've said, we can generate them now, and we should generate them now, otherwise it won't work correctly. And we press save. Also, the light file for this particular texture is pretty much the same, but shrinked in size by 50%. So let's just open this DDS and make it a bit smaller. I guess it would be a good moment to say that by default, and I've seen no exceptions to this so far, the default size for the player use texture in Motorstorms is a 2048 by 1024. The light AI use textures are twice as small. It means it 1024 by 512, and the alphas are twice as small again, which means they are 512 by 256. As I've said, I've seen no rules to this, no exceptions to this rule, but you still have to extract them in order for them to work with my automatic tool, with my tool that makes the texture swapping automatic. So be sure to double check those sizes. Be sure to double check everything. 1024, and let's call it accordingly atomic light, like this. DXT1, yes. So alpha I've already done and saved, and now let's put it here. So all we have to do now is to place these new textures into our RPK files, and as I've already mentioned several times, I wrote a small program that will help us to do that. It is named as size TexSwap. Please be sure that your files are of the correct size when you use this program. Once again, to get the file of the correct size when you extract a texture with raw text, you can simply open it and save it with mipmaps. But once again, as I've already said, be sure to save it as a different file because you will need an originally extracted one, and the program you are saving it with can alter it and render it incompatible with my program. So once you've saved it with mipmaps, you should get a file of the correct size, and every texture you will get from that point should be of the exactly same size. If you've got a different size, you are doing something incorrectly, and you probably should check what you are doing wrong with your texture. Perhaps you are saving it in the incorrect format, or you are forgetting to generate mipmaps, or something else. So yeah, size is everything. Also, please be sure that your way to your files do not contain spaces, because the space is one of the characters that Windows command line doesn't like, and my program will fail to automatically create backup for you. Otherwise it will work just alright. And just keep it in mind, and you should create your own backups either way. So the program has a primitive graphical user interface, so we select the original texture just as it says. Then we select the new texture, once again just as it says. And then we select the RPK file in which we shall replace it. There we go. It created a backup, which I should rename to Auric, just to show you one more thing a bit later. So now we gotta do another swap. Please do note that the backup that my program will create at this point will override the previous backup, and the new backup will already contain the previous swap. So the automated backups by my program are really only useful for the one-by-one swaps and tests. If you're doing mass swaps like this one, once again create your own backup. Alright, now let's swap another file. As far as I'm noticed, the alpha that is used by the AI and the player are the one and only file, therefore the packed vehicles file, the RPK, holds only one alpha texture, but my program is designed to replace all instances of the texture it will find, which actually perhaps can be a problem if there are two identical alphas for different liveries, but on the other hand, I have never quite met such an instance. So far all the alpha textures I've found in the packed vehicles files have been different. Either way, I will show you how to do it manually after I'll done all the replacements. Now the light file in the RPK. Now we shall replace the original file in the player split vehicle file. Now the alpha in the player split vehicle. Now the alpha in the alpha in the light file, and at the very last the light file in the light file accordingly. As you can see, my program records everything that it has replaced if you run it via the command line, and I recommend you to run it via the command line rather than the exe, so you can double check yourself. So RPK should have 3 replacements, the usual one, the alpha and the light done correctly, 2 replacements in the split vehicles done right, yes, and alpha and light in the light, yes, everything done correctly. Now I will quickly show you how to do it manually, just in case you will encounter some unique instance that will require for you to do it manually. Also, the manual approach will help you to do some extra changes which might be required in your particular case. Either way, start with opening the original texture, and now remember that the original texture that is extracted with raw text doesn't have MIP maps, therefore its size is a bit incorrect. But so far we have to find the beginning of the texture in the RPK. So we have to select everything past the header, and the header ends at 00000080. So select n bytes past the 000080 or 0x80. So copy them, Ctrl F in our original RPK, past, and here is where our texture starts. Now we have to figure out where it ends. So we'll open a correctly sized file with MIP maps. We place the caret at 0x80 and we select everything past the header towards the very end. So I believe we selected 1, 15, 55, 68. So we should calculate now where our file will end. So it should be 15, 0E. Oops, forgot to change it to hex. 0E to C plus 15, 55, 68, I believe it was. Was it 68? I'm not sure. Yep, 68. Well, then it is the correct calculation. Let me write it down on paper really quickly. Right. Okay. So, once you get the correct calculation, you copy all this from the new texture. You go from the start of it to the calculation you've got, which is 2A6394 in my case. Usually the correct calculation ends up right into Evo's big separator, and you press Ctrl V. Yes, as you can see, the size is exactly the same in my case. That's how you replace the texture manually. Now you have to do this again and again for every instance I've done with my program. So, as you can see, this is how you do it manually, and it is kind of slow. So, this manual method is the only way to go if you want to insert a higher resolution or perhaps a lower resolution texture, because my program cannot do this for you, it will do it incorrectly. So if you want to use that kind of textures, you have to do it manually. So let's go to the place where our texture starts. Once you've inserted your higher or lower resolution texture, you will have to once again manually change several more bytes in the RPK file. Even though I haven't intended for my program to do it, I will show you how it can be done. So, according to Regal's tutorial, file size is 4 bytes before the texture data, meaning these 4 bytes are the file size. We can check it ourselves. 1556568 1398120. We also have to add the header, which is 80 bytes in hex, which is 128 in decimal, which will be 1398248. Now, if we will compare this number to the size of our texture right here, oops, pardon me. Yes, as you can see, they are exactly the same, 1398248. So if you replace your file or your original texture with the high-res texture, be sure to correct these 4 bytes with your new size. Do not forget to remove the length of your header from the size of your file when you do this, and this original size without the added 1/28 can also be used in your calculations to determine the end of the texture inside the RPK, because I guess this internal value is a bit more solid than the length of the extracted texture. Anyway, once you've fixed the size, you have to modify these 4 bytes as well. Once again, according to Regal's tutorial, before the texture, if the resolution is different, go to the was big space. There is a space before after the was big space before the texture. So here is was big and a space before the texture. Here's this line, just like here. So, and skip 20 bytes. Oops, sorry. Skip 20 bytes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20. And after 20 bytes, here are these 4 bytes. And as Regal's tutorial says, once again, the next 2 bytes form an unsigned short, which is the resolution in the x-axis, and the 2 bytes after that form another unsigned short, which is the resolution in the y-axis. Oh, what's wrong with me? So, this is our x-axis in unsigned short, 0800, and this is our y-axis in the unsigned short, 0400. So, these two also have to be corrected accordingly to your texture. But if you don't want to insert higher or lower resolution textures, you can forget all this hex editing stuff and just use my program to get the same results much faster and much more comfortable. At least so far it works perfectly for me, but if something looks off to you, or if something just refuses to work the right way, well, perhaps you will have to do it the manual way. It is not that hard after all. Alright, now one more tiny thing that you can do with your texture, albeit you can only do it manually, but still you can do it. You can make a pearlescent color. I believe that is how it's called in English. Either way, the car changes its color under the direct light, and Motorstorm allows you to assign the color that the car will change to. The color that the car will change its original color to. Here are the screenshots. This green is the original one on the texture I've swapped, and in this previous swap I've changed it to white, but you can pretty much make it any color you want, and I will show you how. So in order to find the color of the reflection, I need to open my RPK file and search for the text which says specular color 0. Now there are specular color zeros which says color after them. They do not work, we need next one. There's another one which says color. And here is the specular color which actually defines the reflection. Now my livery is number 1, so this is the specular color that I need. But each livery has 2 specular colors, so I need to click find next 3 more times in order to find the next specular color. So this is the first one of my livery. This is another unused color. This is another unused color. And this is another one which belongs to livery 1. It is the greenish one. Yes, it is this color. Now if I'll click find next 3 more times, I will reach the first specular color that belongs to the second livery of the car. And to get to the second specular color of the second livery, I have to click find next 3 more times again. Here is the second one for the second livery, and so on. I hope you get the idea. Keep in mind there are also specular colors for the AI liveries, so in fact I have to replace the specular color 4 times. Either way, now let's get to the specular color itself. So let's copy it. It is laid out in 3 times 4 bytes. So 4 bytes, 4 bytes, and 4 bytes. Let's copy them somewhere here so I can show to you what's what. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4 bytes, 4 bytes, 4 bytes. So first 4 bytes is the red color, second 4 bytes is the green color, and third 4 bytes are the blue color. All are float values from 0 to 1 written in hex. So we can use a float to hex converter in order to get the values of our color. So this would be red, this would be green, and this would be blue. 279. If we will check them with an online tool, we will get that greenish color which actually appears on my car. As you can see, they are definitely the same. So that's how these colors work. You can use this tool to get yourself a new float values and then convert them to hex via the converter in order to get yourself new hex values. I already got myself a new hex value which should give me a very beautiful pink reflection which should look great on my car. So I will search for the original hex values and replace them with new ones as they appear. Oops. New one. Control C, alright. So, Control V, please. Oh, god damn it. Oh, something doesn't work. For whatever reason, Control C, Control V doesn't work, alright. Let's do it manually. So, 3F, F, 3F, 800000. So then 3EC2, 3EC2, 8F5C, 8F5C, 3F3999, 3F39999A. Alright, 3F39999A. It looks correctly. Now let's copy it from here. It should work from here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Yes, 3 times 4 bytes. Alright, now let's find the next instance. Oh yeah, now it works. And it is the third one, and the fourth one, and it is the last one. Done! Now we have to repeat these same things with 2 other RPKs just to be sure everything will work correctly. In split vehicles there are 2 lines per RPK, 2 specular colors, and this should be the last one, and 2 more in RPK light for the AI driver. Oops. Yes, yes, done. So that's how you replace the color of the reflection. Alright, so now let's assume you've done everything you wanted to, so now all that's left is to repack the PSArc back into its original archive. Now actually, as far as I know, RPCS3 can simply launch unpacked files, so you can unpack your PSArcs and use them with your RPCS3 emulator. It will even probably speed it up slightly because it wouldn't have to decompress files from PSArc every time. So if you use emulator, replacing the texture is simply drag and drop the new files onto the original ones. But for PlayStation 3 you will have to repack your files back into the PSArc. So let's put all those files back to where they belong. So ms2, packed vehicles, big rig 01, split vehicles, 01 RPK. I've done a bit more behind the scenes, but that's all of them. RPK, 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 RPK. Now, rally car. That's 4 rally cars. So now the patched rally car. Oops, actually patched rally car belongs to another folder. Unpatched. Yes, that's what we need. Unpatched into packed vehicles it goes, right. And now packed vehicles, patched, right. So the program Regal uses actually was made for Minecraft or something, and the way you use that program, you simply drag all that stuff and drop it into window and it packs a PSArc for you. However, it packs PSArc rather incorrectly. In fact, that program is you cannot tinker it, you cannot configure it. Yeah, you cannot do slide configurations which are present in the header of the PSArc archive. So perhaps that's the reason why that program never quite worked for me. Once again, it works fine for RPCS3, but PlayStation console doesn't like archives that are done with that program and never ever managed to launch one. So instead, I have to use an official PlayStation 3 PSArc tool. Here it is, PSArc.exe, and for it to be used, you have to create an XML file with all the contents of the PSArc, as well as the type of the archive and the block size that you want to use and the type of the compression that you want to use. Now, I will not tell you right now how to do it. I will attach tutorial as well as Regal's Minecraft program into the description of the video, so you can try it all yourself if you want. I also remind you that another third program was located after this tutorial was recorded, which is named PS3 Game Extractor, which should generate XMLs automatically upon extracting the PSArc. So you extract that PSArc with that tool, and an XML should be already in the folder with the extracted file or somewhere else. I've never used it, but I will attach it as well, so you can try that program as well if you want to. But right now, and I will attach those as well, I will use the XML files I've already made, and you should be able to use them as well, because unmodified PSArcs which have no added files, well, yeah, modified can be used as well, as long as they do not have additional files in them. So as long as the list of files remains unchanged, it can be packed with the XML file I've cooked for the official PSArc tool. In the rare case, if you have a PSArc with a modified amount of files, I believe I should not even have to tell you that, but you will have to cook a different XML file for the PSArc with the changed amount of files. Or give a try to that PS3 Game Extractor program and perhaps it will work. I believe it should work. I have, however, cooked an XML file specifically for Regal's Twix mode 1.3 version, so if you use Regal's Twix mod, which is MS2 patch PSArc, I have an XML file for the version 1.3 specifically attached in the description, and I believe it accounts for all of them. Once again, if you have your own PSArc with changed amount of files, I bet you are skilled enough to cook your own XML, and you should have done it in the first place to obtain a PSArc with changed amount of files that works with your PS3. Whew. Alright, either way. Basics, console tools, PS3 tools, PS3, PSArc. To sum it up, if you do not feel adventurous and all your files are either default Motorstorm files or Regal's Twix mod version 1.3, all you have to do is replace your original RPKs with your modified ones in the unpacked PSArc, as I've done in the first part of this last part of this tutorial, and all that's left to do is to place your PSArc and an appropriate XML file into the same folder that contains an unpacked PSArc and run this one command that will pack our file back onto the form which is acceptable for the PS3 console. In this case the command is --xml equals ms2.xml. The name of the XML after the equal sign can change accordingly to the name of your XML file. Pressing enter. And it packs. Once it's packed, it will be a huge PSArc which we will have to drop back onto our console, replacing the original one. I believe you do not need a tutorial for that, at least I hope so, but all this stuff takes some time and I will be back to you once all this packing and moving is done. Now, once you've repacked all the PSArcs you've modified and dropped them back on your console, I hope you've launched your game and made it into the main menu, which is already quite a victory given such a thorough repacking of all the main game archives. And it is time to take a look at the changes you've made and to check if they have been applied correctly. Oh boy! Ooh, this looks good, man. Pinups are kinda blurry. Guess nothing that can be done about it. But the flames are darn crispy, just look at those flames. Ooh, this pinkish reflection, oh, looks great. And the pinup on the hood looks quite good, yeah. Sexy, sleek and shiny. Ooh. Alright. Yeah, that's alright. Now let's take a look at the Castro Varadero, which was the spark plug Castro Varadero. Spark leads, yeah. Oh yeah, done just correctly. I should probably remove the rust though, it in some other file. I should replace the rusty parts with non-rusty ones, but overall, pretty much done. Yeah. And the last car I replaced in this while I was recording this tutorial is a rally car. Most of you probably haven't even noticed that it was the reason, but one of Castro Toros, this one, it had a decal on its left side mirrored incorrectly. The font was mirrored, the lower decal on the left side, and yes, I've changed it to be displayed correctly. Now it is a low right on both sides. Yep, that's it, all done, and as far as I can see, everything has been done right. Oh, what can I say? I hope you've managed to understand this tutorial, and I hope you will now be able to introduce your own liveries into Motorstorm Pacific Rift. If you have any questions, ask them in the commentary and I will do my best to answer them. I will also leave a link that will lead you to the Regal's channel, and hopefully he will be there to assist you as well. And what else can I say? Nothing, I guess. Let me just perhaps launch the Castro Varadero on the track, just so we can take one last look at it in the natural light, so to say. Here we go. Oh, and the pinup looks much better here. Yeah, that's what I've thought. I've thought that pinup will look much better, or pinup, yep, pinstripe will look much better in the natural light. Still a bit blurry, you know, but I'd say it is rather good. I'd say it is quite good. Yeah, I definitely like it. I definitely like it. I wonder why it is a bit blurry on the front, but why quite crispy on the back of the how does it called on English? I'm not sure. Well, you know what I mean. I guess that's just the issue with the mapping of the model. And when you mod, you can't quite, figure out how it will be laid out on the vehicle unless you've done it, so I couldn't foresee that it will be somewhat blurry on the front, but at the same time I kinda do not care. I really like how it went together after all. I really like how it came together in the end. My emotions are somewhat dull because I'm really tired from recording this thing, but I'm really happy at this moment that I think this purple beast looks great. Definitely gonna have some races with it. And well, I hope I have spent all that effort for something, that you will be able to follow this tutorial. Post your textures in the Discord, in the comments, everywhere. Post your textures everywhere. I hope to see many more new textures for Motorstorm Pacific Rift from now on. That's it. Thanks for being with me, cats. Good luck.